Space, the final frontier. That iconic phrase launched millions of viewers into a sci-fi adventure with Star Trek, a series that has become a pop culture legend. But behind the tight uniforms and old-school effects lies a chaotic and inventive production full of stories you wouldn't believe. From near cancellations, actor rivalries, to things NBC tried to hide. Here are 20 weird facts you didn't know about the original Star Trek series, 1966 to 1969. Number 1. William Shatner's secret trick to steal the spotlight. William Shatner was never one to play second fiddle, even when it came to camera angles. While portraying the confident and fearless Captain James T. Kirk, Shatner had a subtle but highly effective technique. He would position himself slightly closer to the camera than his fellow castmates during group shots. This made him appear more dominant, more heroic, and yes, slightly larger, even when standing next to taller actors like Leonard Nimoy. The result? Kirk always looked like the true center of attention. Over time, this became such a running joke that crew members reportedly adjusted camera setups just to keep it fair. But for Shatner, it wasn't just ego, it was part of maintaining Kirk's presence. And whether you admire the tactic or not, it definitely worked. You always remember Kirk first. Number 2. The Enterprise's futuristic control panels were Christmas lights. The Starship Enterprise might have looked advanced, but behind the scenes, the technology was anything but. The blinking control panels and light-up interfaces that seemed so high-tech in the 1960s were actually powered by a low-budget solution, strings of manually operated Christmas lights. Hidden crew members would stand off-screen, flipping switches and coordinating blinks with the actors' performances. If a light blinked at the wrong time, say, before someone pressed a button, the entire shot had to be redone. Even the blinking data streams were just loops of colored tape fed through transparent boxes. Today's sci-fi relies on CGI, but Star Trek made do with glue, bulbs, and timing. The magic wasn't in the hardware, it was in the illusion. And somehow, despite the simplicity, it convinced generations of viewers they were watching the future. Number 3. NBC tried to cut Spock and his ears. Spock is now a sci-fi icon. But in 1966, NBC executives weren't fans. They thought his pointed ears made him look too devilish, like Satan, as one memo allegedly put it. The network even suggested cutting the character entirely from the show. When producers insisted on keeping Spock, NBC tried a new idea: have actor Leonard Nimoy surgically alter his ears to match the character, so they wouldn't have to pay for prosthetics each week. That's right, real surgery to save money. Thankfully, Nimoy refused. The studio compromised and continued using latex ear tips, even though they were time-consuming to apply. Today, those ears are among the most recognized features in pop culture. The network that once feared Spock later cashed in on his massive popularity, proving sometimes the weirdest ideas are worth fighting for. Number 4. A college student wrote one of Star Trek's most beloved episodes. When David Gerrold was just a young college student and a diehard fan of Star Trek, he took a chance. Without any industry contacts or experience, he wrote a script and mailed it straight to the producers. Amazingly, they read it and liked it. His story, The Trouble with Tribbles, became not only one of the most popular episodes of the original series but also a fan favorite across all of Star Trek history. The episode featured thousands of soft, purring alien creatures multiplying out of control aboard the Enterprise, a perfect mix of humor and chaos. Gerrold's success story is now legend. It proved that passion and a bit of bravery could open doors in Hollywood. He went on to have a long career in television, but it all started with one unsolicited envelope and a whole lot of tribbles. Number 5. The show was saved by fans, literally. Despite its bold ideas and futuristic themes, Star Trek struggled with ratings during its first season. NBC, unimpressed by the numbers, planned to cancel it. But something extraordinary happened. The fans fought back. Led by B. Joe Trimble, a grassroots campaign launched to save the show. Fans from across the U.S. mailed over 100,000 letters to NBC, urging them to renew Star Trek. The volume was so overwhelming that network executives couldn't ignore it. As a result, Star Trek was renewed for a second season, and then a third. It became the first show in television history to be saved purely by its fan base. This movement didn't just save the series, it helped invent modern fandom. Today, campaigns to renew shows are common, but in 1968, Star Trek fans were pioneers. They didn't just watch sci-fi. They believed in it, and that belief changed everything. Number 6. The Klingon didn't speak Klingon. You'd think the fearsome Klingon always had their own language, right? Not in the original series. In fact, during Star Trek's first run, Klingon spoke perfect English, no alien words, no guttural phrases. Why? Simple. Budget constraints. There was neither the time nor money to invent a fictional language for alien species. It wasn't until Star Trek, the motion picture in 1979, that linguist Marco Crand was hired to create a full-fledged Klingon language, complete with grammar, syntax, and thousands of words. Today, you can buy Klingon dictionaries, take Klingon courses, and even read Shakespeare in Klingon. But in the 60s, they were just guys with eyebrows and attitude. Number 7. Starfleet uniforms were itchy, hot, and flammable. The iconic Starfleet uniforms may look sleek on screen, but wearing them was a nightmare. They were made from a special velour-like fabric that didn't breathe, trapped sweat, and itched like crazy under hot studio lights. Actors regularly overheated or broke out in rashes, especially during long shoots. And worse, the fabric was highly flammable. One wrong spark, and those bright red shirts could become more than just a death sentence in the script. Costume designers tried to update the uniforms in later seasons, but the discomfort lingered. So next time you admire Captain Kirk's confident strut down the bridge, just know, underneath, he was probably sweating buckets and itching like mad. Number 8. Automatic doors were pulled by stagehands. You know that classic Star Trek sound, the smooth whoosh of a door opening on the Enterprise? Well, spoiler, those doors weren't automatic at all. Hidden behind the set were 2 crew members who manually slid the doors open and shut at the right moment. They used ropes, levers, or sometimes just brute force, trying desperately to sync with the actor's movements. If an actor walked too early, the door hadn't opened yet. Too late, and the door was already wide open. Timing was everything. You can even hear clunking sounds in some episodes if you listen closely, the sound of plywood and elbow grease. Today, it's all motion sensors and CGI. But back then, it was pure stage magic, and a lot of sweat. Number 9. Shatner had no idea he was a meme. William Shatner's over-the-top delivery, the dramatic pauses, the intensity, became legendary. But for years, he had no idea that fans, comedians, and even entire movies were parodying him. Shows like Saturday Night Live and films like Galaxy Quest poked fun at Shatner-style acting, full of long pauses and exaggerated gestures. When someone finally told him, Shatner reportedly laughed it off, saying, "At least they remember me." He eventually leaned into the joke, even parodying himself in commercials and voiceovers. In a way, Shatner didn't just play a legend. He became a genre unto himself. Number 10. Phaser props were repainted toy guns. In the hands of a Starfleet officer, the phaser looked like a powerful piece of future tech. In reality, it was often just a cheap plastic toy gun, repainted silver and decorated with bits of plastic or foil. The prop department had a limited budget and needed dozens of identical-looking weapons. So they scoured local toy stores, bought up water pistols, and transformed them into phasers with paint and tape. Despite this, the phaser became one of the most recognizable weapons in science fiction. It's a perfect example of how low-budget creativity can still shape pop culture. Sometimes, you don't need lasers, just imagination. Number 11. A cat nearly ruined Assignment, Earth. In the episode Assignment, Earth, a mysterious black cat named Isis plays a key role, calm, elegant, and magical. But behind the scenes, the cat was anything but cooperative. It scratched actors, ran off set, and refused to stay still. To salvage the shoot, producers had to use multiple look-alike cats, swapping them out depending on behavior. One cat was trained to sit. One was okay with being held. One just stared. None of them did it all. It's proof that while you should never work with animals or children, Star Trek tried both, and somehow pulled it off. Number 12. Martin Luther King Jr. saved Uhura's role. Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura, was ready to leave the show after season 1. She felt her role wasn't evolving and planned to move on to Broadway. But then, at an event, she met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who told her he was a fan. He said, "You're not just a black woman on TV. You're a role model. You're showing black children they can be scientists, officers, anything." Touched, Nichols changed her mind and stayed. Her decision wasn't just career-changing, it was history-making. Uhura became a symbol of progress, representation, and hope. Number 13. Alien planets were the same hill. If some alien planets on Star Trek look suspiciously similar, that's because they were. Many exterior scenes were shot at Vasquez Rocks, a rugged area just outside Los Angeles. By changing lighting, angles, and sky filters, the same rock formations became Vulcan, Rigel 7, and countless others. The trick worked well on small black and white TVs of the time. Viewers rarely noticed. So while the Enterprise crew explored dozens of worlds, the actors never really left California. Just goes to show, with good lighting and some imagination, one rock can be a whole galaxy. Number 14. One episode was banned in Germany. Patterns of Force was meant to be a cautionary tale about dictatorship and fascism. But because the villains dressed in Nazi-like uniforms and used related imagery, German censors banned the episode from airing for decades, despite its anti-Nazi message. It wasn't shown on German TV until 1995, long after the Cold War ended. The controversy sparked debates about freedom of expression and historical sensitivity. Even in sci-fi, the shadows of history aren't easily ignored. Number 15. A script rewrite sparked a 30-year feud. The City on the Edge of Forever is often ranked as Star Trek's greatest episode. But its writer, Harlan Ellison, wasn't happy. The producers rewrote much of his original script, adding jokes, changing the tone, and trimming scenes. Ellison felt betrayed and publicly criticized Gene Roddenberry and the show. He even wrote a book years later called The City on the Edge of Forever, the original teleplay. The feud lasted decades. Ironically, the rewritten version won awards, while the original became a legend of what could have been. Number 16. Star Trek borrowed music from other shows. Budget limitations meant Star Trek couldn't afford a full original score for every episode. So they often reused stock music or borrowed from older sci-fi shows like The Outer Limits. Some sound effects, like doors opening or phasers firing, were also borrowed or remixed. The result was a sonic landscape that felt futuristic but was built on recycled parts. And still, the opening theme of Star Trek remains one of the most recognizable in TV history. Number 17. Scotty hit a war wound. James Doohan, who played Chief Engineer Scotty, lost a finger in World War II after being shot by friendly fire on D-Day. Rather than write it into the character, the show's directors cleverly hid his missing finger, using props, camera angles, and hand positioning. Most fans never noticed, even after dozens of episodes. Doohan didn't talk much about his injury, but when asked, he'd smile and say, "Scotty's still got all 10 fingers. I'm just lending him mine." Number 18. Star Trek became popular after it was canceled. During its original run, Star Trek never cracked the top ratings. It quietly ended after Season 3. But when reruns aired in the 1970s, something incredible happened. A whole new generation of fans discovered it. Suddenly, conventions appeared. Fan fiction exploded. And in just a few years, NBC realized what it had lost, leading to the movies, spin-offs, and the modern Star Trek empire. The show didn't fail. It just needed time. Number 19. One actor played 4 different roles. Actor Mark Leonard had serious range. In the original series, he played multiple unrelated characters, including a Romulan, a Klingon, and eventually Spock's Vulcan father. Thanks to clever makeup and costume changes, viewers rarely noticed. At the time, reusing actors was a budget move, but it also highlighted the talents of Star Trek's cast. Even today, Trek fans debate which Leonard character was best. Number 20. Beam me up, Scotty, was never actually said. The most famous line in Star Trek history, "Beam me up, Scotty," was never spoken on the show. Variations like "Scotty, beam us up," or "beam me up" appeared, but the full phrase doesn't exist in any episode. So how did it become legendary? Thanks to fan culture, memes, and parodies. Sometimes, the most iconic lines are the ones we imagine, not the ones actually said. Which fact blew your mind the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden Hollywood stories.